I wasn't gonna do this video because I figured, February's upon us. It's a moot point, right? But since every other YouTube channel that has some sort of action figure related content is still coming out with videos like this, I figured, I'll add my 2 cents, and then some. What's going on, everybody? Everybody, what is going on? This is my video for Best Action Figures of the Year and Best Action Figure of the Year. I'm doing things a little bit differently from other content creators because I don't have a top 10 or a top 20. I'm going to add a little flavor to this video, you know what I mean? I'm going to go ahead and show you a handful of figures from each line that I collect that I feel were the best figures and what I felt was the overall best one. Then at the end of the video, I'll go ahead and tell you what I feel personally, important words to make note of there, was the best action figure of 2022. And there'll be a couple other surprises along the way. Bear in mind, I don't really buy into anything high-end, so you're not going to see any SH Figuarts or Rebel Tech on this list. It's just your everyday retail items, because again, I just don't buy into high-end items.
What the fuck is that?
Without further ado, Battle of the Brands. Mattel, WWE. This was the cream of the crop right here. The Legends, WWE, DX in their army gear. Easily the most iconic moment in their history. One of the most iconic moments in the Attitude Era, and arguably one of the most iconic moments for WWE as a whole, represented in figure form. I'm counting these collectively as the best figure and just the best thing to come out of the line this year for Mattel's WWE brand. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Macho Man's ghost likes to pay me a visit, and if I'm not naming him as the best in something, he'll usually let me know. Doesn't look like he's going to do that today, so we got lucky. NECA. Dr. Loomis came so close to being the top figure of the year for NECA for me, but I have to give it to none other than the Mistress of Dark herself, Elvira. The only drawbacks to this figure is that it's one of the 8-inch clothed retro NECA figures, so she is out of scale with the rest of my collection, but too beautiful to pass on. And she does have a hard time standing up. I just think it's the universe's way of telling me to make her a couch. She has a wonderful likeness, the soft goods dress lays where it's supposed to lay without any issues, and she has the proper accessories. And I do mean the proper accessories. Oops. McFarlane DC Multiverse. I don't think there was another figure line I collected as much of in 2022 as much as this DC Multiverse line. So many good offerings in 2022. My personal favorite is Superman, but I had to customize this heavily enough to get him to look like this, so I'm gonna give it to the Three Jokers Batman. I know some of you are probably thinking, why? He's so basic, but that's what I love about him, is that he's basic. We needed a default Batman for so long. I feel like McFarlane does an excellent job with Batman figures when they're either not Bruce Wayne or Bruce Wayne from another world where he doesn't look like your traditional Batman. This is the traditional Batman we needed, and the proof is in the pudding, seeing as how so many more Batman figures are coming out using this buck design, and it's relatively easy to get, which is what you want. Now I have a special category here, and this leads me to the exclusive figure of the year, and this is out of all the exclusives, any brand, I'm giving this one to McFarlane's DC Multiverse, Walmart exclusive of Asbat, Azrael Batman. Such a great figure. Colors are a little bland, yes, but the sculpt is there, so if you want to detail it, you can. And this is the one that gave me the most pride when I found it. Valorverse Action Force. Yeah. This is a newcomer for me. I never owned any of these figures prior to 2022, so what you see here is what I got. I have to give special attention to the fact that they fucking made Tony from Analog Toys. I mean, that is wild to me. That is awesome. Not to mention, he is also depicted in his proper uniform from when he was in the British military. But figure of the year for Valaverse for me is Trigger. Holy shit, what an awesome figure. It's everything you could want out of an action figure for the price point it's at. Great articulation, great sculpt, great paint apps. I can't help but notice that the face sculpt kind of resembles Macho Man, which is awesome. Okay, he's not coming out for praise either. Honestly, this is everything that an adult action figure collector could hope for. It's everything you would want in an action figure. And I really love the pants design here. I love how the bottom of the pants are part of the boot sculpt, so it doesn't interfere with articulation. Take fucking notes, Hasbro. And speaking of Hasbro, these Action Force figures fit right in with your G.I. Joe classified collection. Can't ask for more than that. Hasbro Marvel Legends are all but deceased for me. Spider-Man and Venom characters are the only thing keeping me tethered to this line. So that is all I got in 2022, was Spider-Man and Venom related characters, and this is what I felt was the best. The Venom from the Null 2 pack was a second close favorite, but as you can see by the pictures here, that is not the head that came with this figure, and the feet I had ordered from Anthony's Customs. The way I see it, if you have to mod a figure to the point of replacing parts, then how good was it in the first place? Best figure from Marvel Legends this year for me personally? First appearance, Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. This one came out of left field because it was one of those I ordered just to order it, because I do collect all types of iterations of Spider-Man, and I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. It is probably the best Hasbro Spider-Man figure. It actually emulates what Spider-Man should look like. Little web wings. I really do hope in the future Hasbro could come up with a better solution for web wings, maybe make them out of silicone. However, when you find that right pose that incorporates the web wings, he looks utterly amazing. Now that leads me to a dire topic, and that is the worst action figure of the year. And that goes to Marvel Legends Iron Spider-Man. Now, please keep in mind, this is probably still the best Iron Spider-Man figure in the Marvel Legends line as a whole, but for the price point that it was at versus what we got, the mismatching paints, the robot spider legs being basically made out of Werther's original candy, I just couldn't, no, this was a shit release for the price, and Hasbro should be ashamed of themselves. McFarlane Spawn. What a great year 2022 was for the Spawn line. The Throne Spawn. It has the potential to be the greatest Spawn figure we've ever had, but it feels 65% complete. I'm going to have to customize it to get it the rest of the way, and I will be doing a tutorial video on that customization when the time comes. My top pick is the duo of Sam and Twitch, because, well, they always come in pairs, always have. If you're getting one, you're obviously getting the other, so I am kind of counting them as one figure. These are some really awesome figures. I'm always happy to get supporting characters in any form from any line, any franchise. The weapons they came with were kind of shit, but luckily I do have the McFarlane Munitions pack, and I was able to give them weapons that were more befitting city detectives. Hasbro Transformers. Legacy, or Evolution is it called now? I don't know. War for Cybertron. Look, whatever the Chug line is called, I am so happy with what Hasbro has been doing with Transformers in the last few years. Transformers is the quinceañera of my collection. I'm not gonna lie, I do have a strong bias for Transformers. My top pick has to go to, and despite its problems, because trust me, it did have quite a few problems, Victory Saber, the HasLab. Say what you will, I truly enjoy this figure. I feel like it does a few things better than the Masterpiece version did, and much like its Gundam-inspired design, after panel lining it, it looks stunning. Masters of the Universe Masterverse. Now, even though they're not featured in this video, I do collect Origins, but Masterverse is what really shined this year for me. Lots of wonderful, wonderful releases. It was hard to pick which one was the best, but going by my overall enthusiasm, I'm giving it to the 40th anniversary He-Man. This figure took me by surprise because I honestly thought it was just going to be an Origins head popped onto a Masterverse body, but It has a few details and a few upgrades that you normally don't see on other figures for this price range, and for that, it is the best Masterverse figure of the year for me. Honorary action figure of the year, Four Horsemen, Figure Obscure, the Headless Horseman. I'm going to be honest with you, this wasn't on my list initially, mostly because I fucking forgot I own it. Which is nonsense, seeing as how it is out on display. How could I forget that I have this thing? Now, I did say initially that there wasn't anything really high-end on my list, but this is one of the few items that I did indulge in, and I am glad I did. Now, is it personally my favorite figure? No. But if I was looking at this list completely objectively, this figure would win across the board. Articulation, paint apps, premium detailing, and is the definition of what an adult collectible should be. Last, but certainly not least, Hasbro, G.I.Joe Classified. I had made the statement that this is one of the best action figure lines to collect. I still stand by that statement, and hopefully 2023 will be no different. And out of all the releases this year, I felt that these were the best. And as far as the best one, I'm gonna have to give it to Storm Shadow. When looking at this collection as a whole, Storm Shadow just really does it for me. It's one of those figures I love picking up, messing around with, posing. Everything about him is just right. The accessories are great. The fact that there is storage for his accessories is another great plus. With the exception of the waist area having a slightly mismatch in paint to plastic, it's really not that noticeable or that much of an eyesore to take any accolade away from this awesome figure. So Storm Shadow gets my vote for the best G.I. Joe Classified for the year of 2022. So now, the moment you all have been waiting for. Out of all these wonderful figures that I had just talked about, which one is the best action figure for 2022? Now, as I mentioned before, Transformers, I do have a huge bias towards. Last year's action figure of the year for me was Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. It's everything you could want out of a Transformer and even outdid some Masterpiece figures. So is my bias for Transformers strong enough to make the HasLab Victory Saber the action figure of the year for 2022? Fuck no. That honor goes to the 40th anniversary He-Man. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What the fuck is this guy talking about? This figure is basic as fuck. Why? Well, let me tell you why. It's a $20 action figure. Comes with great accessories, has airbrushed paint applications on the skin texture. It has a paint wash over his attire in some areas. They gave it a more bulkier, updated chest design, and it is the most articulated He-Man figure to date. I know subjectively that you could look at a Mattel Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man and say that is a better action figure, and you would not be wrong in that assessment, but this figure just hits all the right notes for me. It's detailed enough to appeal to that adult collector in me, but yet it has that toyetic vintage look to really give me the feels from my childhood. It does all the poses that you needed to do, but the one that really sold me over was this pose right here, and that is the classic vintage 1980s action figure stance that those figures had, and this is just oozing with nostalgia. And for a $20 price point, pricing does play a big factor for me when I'm judging these figures, but for me personally, this He-Man is a great example as to what a $20 figure should be, and it's just one of those that when I'm walking through my house and looking at my displays, I can't help but stop and just take a few extra seconds to look at this He-Man figure. If I had to give it a flaw, it's the fact that Mattel fucked up and did not give us a Skeletor to go with it within 2022. Hopefully they release him in 2023, because that Mattel Creations exclusive was bullshit. So there you have it. That was my list for the best action figures of 2022, and I'm looking forward to seeing what 2023 brings. But I'm going to be scaling back on collecting just because it is getting expensive, and a lot of items are just not equating to what their prices are, so I am going to be devoting more time to some of my other hobbies. Now, I'm not entirely done as a collector. I probably will have a 2023 best action figure list video like I did this one. I just don't see it having as many figures as this video has. But I got to admit, 2023 is off to a great start. I gotta say, 2022 was an interesting year for me, both as a collector and personally. I said goodbye to my long hair, And the reason why I did so was because I had accepted a small supporting role in an independent movie that was being filmed in my area, and that is all I could say about that for now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and videos like... Hey you. Yeah, you. If you haven't noticed by now, Jerry Gatz thinks he's being a revolutionary by not saying what is necessary to gain more subscribers. Bullshit. And this is coming from a guy who knows how to market himself. Since he's too much of a pussy to say it, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it for him. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this, please hit the like.
And don't forget to hit the notification. Hey, am I late?
No, you're early. And I wasn't aware that you were even supposed to be in this segment. This is my guest spot.
Well, no surprises there since neither one of us made it on his list. By the way, are you a little dismayed by the fact that we did not make it on Master Jerry's Best Action Figures of 2022 list?
Just because I was excluded from the list does not prevent me from being the greatest of all time. Sensei Gatz probably kept me off the list to protect the other figures because I can easily kick all their asses.
I don't know. That Bane figure looks pretty tough. And what about his Thanos figure? It has all the Infinity Stones.
That's nonsense. They're action figures. They don't actually have the powers and abilities of the characters they're based on. Look, man, you're kind of wasting my time and the time of the viewers. Get to the point already.
My point exactly. We are not real, Johnny. We're just plastic representations of characters who were created for the sole purposes of entertaining these titans of consumption. Do you really think you're standing at the Miyagi-Do dojo right now, Johnny? Take a look.
We're standing in front of a bright green poster board.
It's all false, Johnny. None of it is real. We're effigies, Johnny. Effigies of pop culture characters of grandeur, casted into plastic. Except where real effigies' existence ceases by fire. Our existence ceases through the slow burning of time itself, waiting out our end on a shelf or in a storage tote, only for our master's own existence to someday cease, which then leaves us to a worse fate, forgotten in an attic, which will eventually lead to the landfill, only for us to slowly decay into the eternal bliss of non-existence. Best case scenario for our kind is to end up at a thrift store or on eBay, only for the vicious shelf-to-tote cycle to continue evermore. Johnny, are you there, Johnny? Johnny, can you hear me, Johnny? Johnny. Johnny!
Yeah! Ow!
Why the hell did you do that?
I don't know. Was that real enough for you? Shit, now I'm out of time. If you want to see more badass videos like this, you know what to do. Thanks for blowing my spot, Percy.